Yo, what's good, y'all? How you doing? Welcome to the first installation of the Mosh Pit video slash audio series. I don't know how you're watching or listening to this, but this is your first time seeing my face, hearing my voice. Welcome. This is something I'm gonna try to do. I have zero experience with YouTube slash podcast on my own. Done it for school, but it's my first time doing my own thing. So welcome, and I'm glad you're here. I'm thankful for everybody taking the time to listen to what I have to say. So if you're new here, I definitely would ask that you like, subscribe, subscribe to the Substack, the moshpit.substack.com, free plug. But welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I've always been terrified of failing. As a child, I built up a large part of my self worth around my accomplishments, and by all accounts, I was a pretty successful kid. It's recently described me as the kid who reminded the teacher we had homework. I would have just said a bit of a goody two shoes, but she wasn't exactly wrong in her description. I believe my accomplishments in being a good kid would give me the love and validation I was craving. Spoiler alert, it never did. I played the role of who I believe people wanted me to be for them, and I believed I played it well. The attention I would receive when I accomplished something would feel great in the moment, but never really feel what I was missing internally. None of these accomplishments ever felt like they were really mine. It was what someone else wanted from me, but I thought maybe if I could do enough of what they wanted, I would get the love I was craving in return. I did exactly that, matter of fact. I did more than that, and yet I still felt empty. This may be an oversharing of information and a shock to some of y'all, but for the majority of my life, I didn't really want to be alive. For the most part, I wasn't actively suicidal, but I would eventually learn later on that what I had been experiencing for so long was called passive suicidal ideation. I constantly had thoughts that sounded like, if I disappeared at this very moment, no one would care or notice. All I do is burden the people I love. They'd be better off without me. And if a car came barreling towards me, I don't think I would care to move. Maybe it's better if I don't. I believed that I didn't matter, and nothing I did mattered. I was going through the motions and doing things simply because I was told to. I never developed my own spark and passion for life. I only saw my life as a way of improving the lives of others around me. At face value, this sounds like a noble idea, but I wasn't doing it because I truly believed in helping. I did it because I wanted the person I was doing it for to love me. I was doing it for myself. My first tattoo was inspired by the anime Bleach by Tai Kubo. It's an amazing show that I hate to have to admit I still haven't finished. In the show, one of the groups of villains is called the Espada, and each of them has a numerical tattoo based on their strength in comparison to the rest of the group. I got Sierra Harbell's tattoo of the number 3. I told people that her character represents self sacrifice, and that much is true. The part that I always neglected to mention was each of the Espada also represents an aspect of death or a way to die. I always told myself that when I got tattooed, it would be because it was something important to me. I wanted to die by sacrificing myself because I thought that would finally give my life meaning and importance to somebody. I permanently inked the idea of my ideal death onto my body for everyone to see. In this same period of middle and high school, I also struggled to build deep, meaningful connections. I was always well liked and had friends, but I never really felt the need to reach out to people. I rarely ever hung out with people I claimed to be friends with outside of school or organized outside events. I didn't know how to connect with people, and I didn't know why it seemed like people liked me in spite of my struggle to connect. I couldn't understand what other people saw in me that made them be friendly or even just kind to me. I was always just sort of there, but never fully invested. I couldn't allow myself to get close to people. The people close to me always hurt me the worst, and I always feared that that was a part of me I would inevitably spit back at others. The people who hurt me in that way constantly reminded me this is a generational curse. They made me believe that being someone who inflicted pain on the people I love was my birthright, and that was all I could ever be. That kind of person is who I would always be at my core, and I believed them. So I never made an effort to get close to anyone. I believed this was my way of saving them from me. In a way, I was also scared they would hurt me too if I let them in too close. So I would sacrifice the relationships and intimacy that I so desperately wanted so that they could be happier. I truly believed I was doing something noble. There are people who made efforts to be there for me and be closer, but at that time, I pushed them away in one way or another. I still struggle with being vulnerable with people I love and allowing the men to see who I am. Writing was something I always loved and excelled at. I always loved reading because it could transport me to another place away from my reality. Those who knew me at St. Philip's can attest that if you saw me at school, chances are that I had a book or a magazine somewhere in my possession, if not in my hand at the time with my nose buried somewhere deep in it. I got into writing poetry in middle school and was placed in my school's literary magazine, which I would eventually help out with making. Our advisor, Miss Frazier, who I never had as my actual classroom teacher, saw my writing and my passion for the art form and suggested I join our school newspaper, The Remarker, when I reached high school. That one suggestion changed my life forever, and I can never thank her enough for genuinely caring about me and making that suggestion. I don't know if she'll ever see this, but Miss Frazier, you were the initial light that led to me finding my spark for life. Journalism was one of the first times when I felt like a real part of my community. It made me realize that I love talking to people and seeing the different ways that people interacted with the world around them. It was one of the first times I felt that I truly had something that I was doing solely because I enjoyed it. And then, like almost everybody else in 2020, COVID hit and I felt like it was snatched away from me. I finished my junior and senior years of high school from home, and once again, I felt disconnected from the peers I felt like I had only just begun to connect with. Morehouse was my saving grace. I always gonna shout out the house. I came in as a nihilistic young man who rarely left his room. I didn't even know if anyone I knew from home was going to be in Atlanta. Call it God, call it luck, call it mathematical probabilities. But I had someone over Spelman that I had known, even though we'd only seen each other a couple of times since sixth grade and never talked much outside of those times. I'm not gonna name drop people in here, but this is the same previously mentioned friend who called me a homework snitch kid. We reconnected on a random warm September night in 2021 for my birthday. I decided to text the Graves Hall group chat and invited her and her friends and anyone from Graves that wanted to come to a bowling alley. That random decision led me to find the people I call my family now. I've already told them plenty of times, so I won't rehash what they already know. But for those who haven't heard me say it before, they changed my life for the better. They taught me how to build those connections that I was always looking for and what it looked like to be a good friend to the people you love. I eventually would get closer with more of my Morehouse brothers and Spelman sisters and find my tribe in Atlanta, Mi Familia. Y'all gave me my spark for life and my love for people, that love and validation that I was always searching for. Yes, I did find in other people. Most importantly, I found it within myself to give to myself. Different people and circumstances that I would go through in college would lead me to philosophy in many different forms. Up to this point, I had moved through life with no vision of who I wanted to be and what was important to me outside of who people told me I should be and what they wanted me to find important. I had to empty myself and build myself back up into someone that I wanted to be and I could admire. Some of the things that I grew up with stayed with me. The large majority I found no longer served me in ways that would allow me to become the man I wanted to be. I took bits and pieces of everything in my life: media, people, books, class discussions, late night hangouts, music. I took all of it in with the mindset of who do I want to be? Two of the most influential also come from anime. Yes, if you couldn't tell already, I'm a huge nerd. One of my biggest secrets, so. My second tattoo comes from the anime Naruto, and in particular the character of Gaara. Gaara has a large tattoo of the Japanese kanji for love sitting prominently above his left eyebrow. Gaara's character arc in this show was one that always stuck with me, as he is someone who sees himself and in turn portrays himself as a monster to others. His character arc to me was about learning to love yourself, accept love from those around you, and then show that love back to other people. I was absolutely not getting a face tattoo, but I put it in a place that was important and symbolic to me. I got it tattooed on my chest, rightly right where my heart is, about right here. I got it as a permanent reminder to myself to move with love in all things that I do. Love for myself and love for people as a whole. The other manga I learned from, while not getting it tattooed yet, is called Vagabond. The story is based on the account of the real samurai Musashi Miyamoto in his travels and writings. One of the themes of the story is true strength and what it means to be strong. There's a running theme of invincible under the heavens that goes along with the idea that only those who are kind truly consider themselves to be strong. I took the phrase invincible under the heavens as a motto to push myself to be the kindest person I could be at all times. That would be my strength. It was a strength that I could call my own, built through hard work and dedication, but for everyone around me. I eventually would find my vision for the person that I wanted to be, and a large part of that came from all the people I met and interacted with during my time attending Morehouse. But eventually, that time had to end. I came back to Texas, and before I hoped it would be, it was time for me to head somewhere different. I don't know if I'm making the right decision, but the more I sit with it, the more I feel like I am. Part of my journey of finding the person that I wanted to be was learning my boundaries and what I would and wouldn't allow in my life, whether that be for myself or other people. I don't know what life looked like for me, and honestly, I'm still coming up with a plan, but life marches forward, and I finally don't think that's a bad thing. The world keeps moving, so I believe that means eventually everything will be okay. Life happens to all of us. You take the time to accept those difficult things. You do everything you need to do to feel those emotions, and you work to understand what you need to be able to learn from it and keep going. You learn how to live with the hardships one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. One of the quotes that most helped me with this came from the Netflix cartoon BoJack Horseman of all places. The character Diane Nguyen said, "Sometimes life's a bitch, and then you keep living." I got knocked down, and it hurts like crazy, but I'm still living. My cousin talked to me about it and framed it for me as if my leg was broken. So I take the time I need to heal. I work through the pain of what happened. Just like muscles reconnecting during rehab, I reconnect with myself in the core of who I know Samaj must could be. Then I'll keep living. Just because my leg was broken once or twice, or maybe even for a long time, it doesn't mean it'll stay broken forever. You gotta get back out in the field eventually. So it's time for me to do it again. But I'm stronger this time because of the people around me and the life I lived. Hey, Young Thug always said it best. Horses don't stop, they keep going. This is my first writing piece that I made and I put on the Substack. I was going through a very difficult time in my life, still dealing with it a little bit right now, but this is something that was important to me to write and for me to get out there. I wanted to definitely put a little piece of myself out there. Um, just my journey so far, especially with becoming a person that I admire, I've looked up to, and that I would have wanted to be when I was younger. So this is really personal to me, really close to my heart, especially at this age. You know, I'm 22, about to turn 23 in about a month. Actually, a month exactly. Jesus, time sneaks up on me. But um, going through a lot of changes. Just graduated college, so I'm really starting to figure out. I'm on the path to becoming the person that I want to be, and that I can respect and admire. So this is just something that came to me, was on my heart for a while, and I hope, hopefully, either help somebody or somebody else can relate to it.